and at the beginning of every school year, because it's a church school, they have a Meet Your Bishops night. And so I got ready and went to my Meet Your Bishops night to meet the bishop and all the cool kids that would be there in my ward. And I walked into the door, and there was this cute guy standing at the door. And I just knew after I said hi to him that he would follow me and sit behind me or something. I just knew it, but he didn't. We went.
He just hoped that she would come over and sit on the other side of the room where I was.
Hey, Elliot, you videotape
where he was.
Okay, yeah, Dad.
Wait, sit by Mom.
Give it away.
Pause.
Pause.
Nope, just let me have
Put
it.
it on
Pause.
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 Okay.
Lucky has pause. Lucky has pause. Lucky has pause.
So I went and sat down
Hold on.
on one of the seats, and it was just like a classroom where there were seats, and so I turned around and he didn't even follow. He wasn't anywhere. And so
Well, he was doing stuff at the door.
okay, so now you tell.
I was trying to meet. I had stuff to do because I
Being
was
diligent.
kind of the young men's guy. Only I had to. They called it the Ronic priesthood general secretary or something. I had to find out all the guys that were coming and stuff. So that's why I was standing in the door. And I mean, she walks. I mean, Matt's standing in that door sideways, and that's how much room there was left for her to walk through. And so we're about that. Her faces were about that far apart.
So when you saw Mom, were you like?
I saw Mom and I remembered it immediately. And I said to myself, boy, I sure hope she'll come over and sit down on my side of the room.
So then, 8 months later, no.
Well, that was in early September, and then sometime about I saw her. And I thought, boy, she is cute. I recognized something. I don't know what it was, but I recognized something. But then I'd go to church, and she'd only be there once in a while. And I thought, well, she's not active or something.
Yeah, Mom was in it.
And we used to sit. The guys used to sit on the east side. There's two cafeterias there at our dorms, and on the east side was there were two girls' dorms, and the east side is where the girls walked by to go to their dorms, and so we always sat on the east side, and we'd sit there because there's big glass windows. I mean, big windows the whole way across the thing, and so we could see all the girls as they walked by, and we'd watch the girls walking by, and I noticed Mother walk by many times, and one night what were we doing? One day for dinner we were there, and we would make comments about any of the girls that walked by. and when
Little beknownst to me as I'm walking just nonchalantly doing my own thing past the window every day,
and
not knowing all these guys inside are
there's 6 or 8 of us guys sitting at one table watching all these girls go by, and Mother walked by, and I said, I think she's cute. Well, there was this guy named Doug, and he said something like, well, no, yeah, he I don't know what it was he said, but it was kind of stupid, number one. But anyway, he was going with a girl named Marilyn, and that was in the first semester, and then Doug went on his mission at the semester break after Christmas and that, and another guy named Kent Myers came off his mission, and so in the spring semester Kent was there, and one day Kent was asking us, well, who are some of the eligible girls around? We said, what? I said, well, there's Marilyn, but she's Doug's girlfriend, but he just went on his mission, and so I introduced Kent to Marilyn, and they ended up getting married, so I got even with Doug.
Yeah.
That was kind of stupid what he said anyway.
Is there a cord to hook this up?
Yeah, actually there is a cord.
Doug was worried about saying something. They'd get back to his woman.
There's a cord.
So he said something about
No, hang on, stop.
He's supposed to say what Doug said about Mom.
Stop the tape.
That'd be nice. Grandma's not doing anything.
Here, Elliot.
Well, I want to hear Mom and Dad's story.
Bugs.
Here, I'll take that end.
All right.
Okay.
I
This
I don't
you
want to
gotta
be in the
plug in
camera.
up here. What? Oh.
You can't trade if you already wrote on your notepad.
When there's kids around,
Can I hold him?
he's so
I'll get him a pencil later then, okay?
Here, take this one.
Oh,
Christy,
There's a red
here.
one right there.
Done.
There's a red one right there.
Escuchaste
You can have this pencil.
hey, don't sit on the dog.
And there's
Okay,
a
there's
green
one.
one.
This is
Buckle.
a pink one.
Right
Give
there.
that to
Huh?
Christy, please.
There's one on the table in there.
Buckle.
Cuando
Jump
dije
off that.
que no me
You
miraba
told
tan.
Christy
Did
to
you jump off
drill.
that?
Yeah, he's okay.
Hey, Buckle, come here.
Okay,
And there's that.
okay, so,
Ball of soccer.
Bye, Dad.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Would you get those lights on right there?
Cut my hair?
yeah, outside.
Outside, yeah. That's good, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, so are we gonna hear the rest of the story?
Okay, where were we?
They're gonna start again.
Clara, sit down.
Okay, you
Where
were,
And so Kent married Marilyn and we got even. And then,
You got eaten.
and then I just read this on my life story a little the other night, and because I had the details wrong, but I thought she was going with this guy because I would see her with him once in a while, so I thought she was going with a guy. And one night we were sitting around in the dorms talking about some of the girls, and I said, well, I'd like to date Claire, but I said, she's going with some guy. Well, our senior resident, I forget his name, but we called him Giant. And he said, no, she's not. He was our home teacher, and he said, she's not going with that guy. And then Kent was, no, he said,
I
she's
broke
not,
up with him.
Oh.
he said, she's not going with that guy. And Kent was, he was just really friendly, and he was going around seeing a lot of them, and I was trying to get up the courage to ask her out, and Kent said, was really being encouraging. In fact, he maybe said something to you,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that. But
I
finally,
think he said something like, well, if Bob asked you out, would you go, or something like that.
Just like it is nowadays. That was too funny.
I
So-
have this friend who wants to go out with you. Would you go?
yeah, and so anyway, but there was one day at church, and I was walking up the aisle, and she was walking down the aisle, and I looked at her. Only I didn't stop looking. I kept looking, and she kept looking.
That was one of those eye locking
tripped over
moments.
the
That was one of those, you know, you make eyes.
Eyes locked.
It's like you see it in the movie. They're walking past each other, and it shows it in slow motion. Both of them turning and.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what happened. 'Cause she was walking up the aisle, and I was walking
movie.
down the aisle, or vice versa. I can't remember which way I was going.
They got this
But
nice
anyway,
music in the background. They also need trips.
And so anyway, I wish I should find where I wrote it all down because I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah.
And so I was still trying to get up enough courage to ask her out, and then, but see, I had gone home at the spring break, and I said, okay, I was dating this one girl, and I decided I wasn't going to date her anymore, and we weren't really dating anyway. We were just once in
Went
a
out a
while.
couple times.
But I was tired of chasing her, so I said I'm going to date a different girl every week. And so then I came home or came back, and that's when I was trying to figure out, well, who could I take out,
And then,
and then
see, I'd been dating this guy quite a bit during this year, and so I actually prayed and fasted about this guy, and to see if he was the right one or
Levi,
not. So-
Levi.
But my answer,
you never told me that.
okay, because the answer was no.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, you know, I mean, the answer was
Oh,
not
yeah.
now, and you'll know when the time comes. And then I found out he was dating some other girls anyway, and I was like really, really mad. And so I
He
broke
was
up
a
with
jerk.
him.
I mean, why should you be mad about a jerk?
Well, anyway, I broke up with him, and that's when I decided. I said, I am going to just have fun. I'm not going to get serious about anybody. I'm not going to date anybody. I'm not getting seriously more than once. I'm just going to go out with anybody who asks me.
That's
Careful,
And I
Amelia.
started
Fall
to.
off of there.
No, it's okay.
So
Get your knees in the way.
I went on a couple of dates, and then I had one more date, and that's when Dad called.
Well, but we had this softball game. And after I decided I wasn't going to date this other girl, there was another girl up there that started inviting me out to dinner every Sunday up at their dorms. Or well, they had the live-in dorms, and so, or the kitchen, whatever. And so
Yeah.
they could have guys up on Sunday, and so.
We could.
Actually, and she was Nancy's roommate. Nancy was Bert's girlfriend, and Nancy and Bert was my best friend, and Nancy actually waited for Bert. You know what? I just broke that.
It's okay.
Oh. And so anyway, she was Nancy's roommate. She kept inviting me up, and I knew that she liked me. And but anyway, it was a Tuesday night, and we had this guys against the old men, or not the old men, but the married singles against the married softball game. And so by this time, Bert and Nancy and everybody kind of knew that I liked Claire, and that Iva liked me, and so they started really rubbing it in, because I didn't want to hurt Iva's feelings or anything, but I really wanted Claire to know that I liked her, but I was afraid she'd think I liked Iva too much or something. Anyway, we had this softball game, and so Bert and Nancy and we would sit down there, and so Mother comes down, and she's sitting right behind me, and I was sitting there, and so I would kind of turn around and talk to each one at different times, and then I just kind of got up and played and came back, and I kind of kept to myself. But anyway, I hit a home
Of
run.
course, I didn't know anything about the other girl.
Yeah, I hit a home run. She didn't know anything about the other girl. Well, on the way after the game, we started walking a little ways together, and I was hoping that she would, and she came up, and so we started walking a little ways, and then so Iva came up with her friends, and so here they are both there.
So he's stuck in the middle,
So,
and he doesn't know what to do.
yeah, I'm stuck in the middle. So Bert and I just started fooling around, and we were carrying each other on our shoulders. What we used to do that a lot, and then finally Claire's senior resident came up and in their car with her boyfriend and offered her a ride, so she took the ride. So at least I didn't have to worry about that anymore. But I was getting kind of worried that she might, get off the hook here or something, and so I just went back to the dorm and said goodbye to Iva and her friend, said I got a lot of work to do, and that kind of lie. And
lied.
That kind of lie.
that kind of lie, So I pretended to go. And then we got up in the dorms and we were talking about the girls again, and Kent and Giant and all them said, you need to call her and invite her to a date. And so I called up and said,
But
you want
I
to
was
go
hoping that he'd call, and I had another date the next day, but I was hoping he'd call anyway that
Well,
night.
I think I called for Friday night or something, or did you say you had a date Friday night? No,
Yeah.
Friday night was we were going to the temple, the Manti temple for baptism. So
Oh, that was a long
But-
story.
yeah, but that's another story. But we haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay.
And so Friday night I knew we were going to the temple, and I think Saturday night was the Golden Green Ball, and the Four Chips were singing in the quartet festival or contest.
Four Chips?
Yeah, that was me and Bert and two other guys, and Nancy played for us.
That's cool.
And actually I have
Steve,
slides of
what
that
else?
too. But anyway, we were singing, we were going to sing, but that was Saturday night. So on Sunday night was Claire Middlemiss, who was President McKay's secretary, was going to be giving a fireside that night. And so I called, and that's when I asked Mother to go to the fireside.
That was our first date.
And she said, she didn't just say yes. I mean, she did one of those cheery,
Yes!
yeah, one of those kind of things. I thought that was really kind of cool. So anyway, I'm doing all the talking.
Yeah, let Mom tell her
That's good.
version now. Meanwhile, on Mom's side, to take,
Well, like I said, I
the
was
story.
waiting for Dad to call, but I had these other dates, and these other guys really wanted to date me, but I had the one date with them, and it was like I was trying to be really nice, but I knew I was never going to date him again, So, anyway,
Well, okay. Well, anyway, Friday was the temple thing, and we were again because I was over the young men.
This is after or before the fireside?
This is before the fireside. The ball game was on Tuesday, and this was in April, wasn't it? Yes, it was in April. The ball game was on Tuesday, and then Friday night was the temple trip, and I don't remember what happened in between, but Bert and Nancy and I would go to the library every night and study and comment about the girls that would walk by, and because they knew that I was looking for somebody, and so they would kind of say, well, how about that one, or we'd play this game. But anyway, on Friday we were meeting the bus in the afternoon up on campus, and I was having to keep track, or I had to keep track of who was there. So I was hoping that I could get a seat on the bus next to Claire, and so
this was like the temple excursion.
Yeah.
Where Iva was there and I was there, and
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of her at all.
Oh my
See, I
God.
didn't know
Yeah,
anything
and I
about
didn't
her.
want to
But I already
lose
knew
this.
that I was gonna.
No,
this
what was
after
up with
you asked
Iva? Were
me
you like-
out.
I had already asked her out, but I didn't want her to think that I liked this other girl because I didn't.
What, you hadn't really gone out with
We
Ida,
hadn't.
though.
No. She just kept inviting me up for dinner all the time. And so
But
anyway,
see, everybody kind of in the ward
No.
knew that.
everybody
She
everybody
liked
knew. I don't know if they just didn't tell her or what, but or maybe she just felt like, well, there's competition, but she was fighting. But I didn't like Iva. She's homely. She was a sweet spirit. And so anyway, so we already had the date set for Sunday, and this is Friday, and we're going to the temple trip, and I'm out there waiting, and
I'm all excited to go to the bus because I know he's already asked me out. And so I get to the bus and I'm trying to figure out
why won't he get on the bus?
why he's like not coming and sitting by me, you
Because
know?
I didn't want to get on there and get a seat and have Iva come up and sit down next to me, and I didn't want to have to tell her, no, I want this other girl to sit by me.
Alright, yes, sir.
And so I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting until there was only one seat or two seats left on the bus, and I climbed up there or got up there, and Claire was sitting next to the window, and her senior resident was sitting there next to her, and or I don't know. Anyway, and Iva was sitting here, and Bert and Nancy were behind me, and the only seat left was sitting next to Iva. So I sat down.
He was
And
right
then she traded
behind us.
seats with her senior resident, so
He was
there,
what?
I'm between both of them.
Oh
There's an aisle here next to Mother, so
And I still had no clue.
she
All I
still
knew
had
was
no
that
clue. I was just sitting there,
I wanted
you know.
him to sit by me.
And so then, because again, I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I didn't want to lose Mother, I would kind of turn around and talk to Bert and Nancy. I'd turn one way one time, what sounded like sort of like the baseball game or softball game.
Yeah, this way, this
And
way.
then anyway, I finally decided this isn't working, so I put my script, or I pretended to fall asleep. Pretended. I
Dad
did not fall
pretended
asleep.
to fall
I
asleep.
pretended to fall asleep.
Could
Even
you
let,
tell he was pretending?
even let my scriptures fall off on the floor, hoping she'd pick them up and give them back to me. I was a real case. I was really aggressive. You know, the girls had to just fight me off all the time. I was so aggressive. Anyway, so I pretended to
That
sleep.
sounds like Bob.
I pretended to sleep all the way down to Manti
Okay,
from
so
Provo.
this was, we were doing
That's a long time to
baptisms for the
pretend.
dead.
Yeah, and then we're down there in the dressing room, and all the guys were starting to talk about this baseball thing about, you know, well, is it going to be a fastball or is it going to be a curve? And I can't remember. Anyway, they were using this baseball analogy to talk about my problem. You know, all the girls and all the guys knew about my problem, you know, and
But me,
but
I didn't know why he wasn't sitting by me now.
and so anyway, then we did the baptisms, and afterward we were getting back out to get on the bus. And I can't remember why I was up on the bus, and then one of the guys, his name was Paul Bartholomew, and somebody had brought a car down, didn't come on the bus, and there was going to be room for two in the car going back, and so I wanted to go, but I was they called me off the bus. And finally, I wanted to go, and I wanted to come up and invite you, and you know, I was right there, and so anyway, finally I said, Kent, go up and ask if she wants to come back in the car with me. So Kent, was it Kent? I don't know. Anyway, somebody got up on the bus and asked her, and she comes bounding off and brought my lunch, and because my lunch sack was sitting up there on the car, and so we sat in the back seat.
Bobby wants to know if you want to come with him.
Yeah, that was about what it was.
Did they say Bobby?
And we sat in the back seat of the car, and that song that I knew that you knew, that was the one song that played that night on the back seat of the car. That's why that song. How did you guys know that song?
California.
played it on
California.
California.
Huh?
You guys
California.
All the time.
That was one of
Trips to
those
California,
oldies you
it
used
was
to
on
play
your
It was
all
on
the
a
time.
tape?
It was on your oldies
And I
tape.
played it all
Well,
the
we found the
time.
record, and then we're trying to figure out how we're going to
Used to
get
play
the
the
song
record
for
at the
this.
house all the time.
I found a record, and it was an old scratchy record. I didn't know we had it on anything.
Yeah.
And
It
we
was
said,
on
well,
a
I'll try to
tape a
find
long time ago.
a record player, and we don't have a record. Well, we have
We
a
always
record player,
never
but
did.
no,
But anyway, Monday I went on the internet and it was right there, Love Generation. I didn't think there was a snowball's
Yeah.
chance in Phoenix on the
Yeah,
sidewalk
he
in
used to play
July
that
to ever
song all the
find that
time.
record. And the album was out, and I ordered it, and it came in this week anyway.
Oh,
I
So it-
regained my self-control.
Okay, go away.
and I came close
wait,
to
wait.
midnight.
I can't believe you guys know that song.
I didn't feel like Batman
And
anymore.
so we rode back in the car, and then Saturday night was the ball.
Oh, wow.
Saturday night
Oh,
was,
that's
was
right.
the ball.
Yeah, so I went this.
No, wait a minute. No, Saturday night was the groundbreaking of the Provo Temple.
So did you guys hold hands in the car or anything like that? Or
It was the week before. It was the Golden Green Ball was the week before. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. The Golden Green Ball was the week before, and that's when we sang. And afterward, we came
She
down.
touched his
We came
leg.
down to the snack bar at the Hedelman Halls, and Bert and Nancy and I were in the snack bar, and she came in with this guy that had taken her to the ball, and I was making eyes at her the whole time. You know, I
Did
was
you see him
like,
doing that?
I was,
Yeah, I saw him over there, and I'm trying to figure out how to be nice to this guy and still see.
so anyway, the Saturday night was the
Oh, that's- you
groundbreaking for
went
the Provo
in.
Temple.
You did
Well,
this cool thing.
anyway, Friday night when I got back to the dorms, then it really hit, and that, you know, they called me up and said Iva cried the whole way home,
Oh,
and so I really felt bad, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I called
didn't
up
know
Iva
anything
and
about
talked to her
it.
for an hour,
clueless.
and
I'm innocent.
you know, I was trying to
I
anyway.
know.
But then somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was after the date on Sunday or somewhere along the way, somebody had told me that Iva said that I was being a little bit presumptuous to think she liked me so much.
So
And
that got him off the hook.
that
and
got
he
me
was
off the
fine.
hook, because if she was being truthful, then she didn't care that much and she wasn't hurt. And if she was lying, well, who wants, you know, that's her problem. So anyway, I was off the hook.
Yay!
And then we went out.
Goodbye.
Or sometime around there.
Stupid Iva.
Stupid.
Well,
Well, let's bleep that
Now,
out.
what was she upset about?
Sorry,
She was upset that you rode home in the car with Mom.
Yeah.
they said she cried the whole way back.
Oh.
well, that's she
On the
obviously
bus.
liked you that
So
much.
sad on the bus, I know.
Oh, and she did, and I already had an invitation for dinner Sunday up there,
Oh,
so
no.
went up for dinner, and you know, everybody's kind of nice and that, and I had to rush away because we had a date.
So you still went to Iva's for dinner?
Well, it was in the afternoon, you know, but
Was
I'd
this
already
only
had,
for the bus or after the
this
bus?
was after the bus.
After the bus.
They'd invited
but
me
it was
for
just to dinner. We just invited him to dinner, and we weren't
just
going
like every
together,
Sunday. I
you
mean,
know?
it became a regular Sunday thing. They invited me for dinner up
So
there.
we both
Bert
kind
and
of
I.
finished up our business,
What are you staring at?
and
You.
Hey, you ever talked to Bert?
that was the end of anybody else.
Hey, Dad, you ever talked to Bert?
Bert lives in California, and I saw him or talked to him a few years back, but I haven't seen him in a long, long time.
So
Long time.
when did you know that you were gonna get married? How didn't
Well, we had the date
Levi.
Friday night, and we
Levi.
sat down. We sat in the lobby of the girls' dorm that night until they kicked
Levi.
us out. Until they kicked all
Oh,
the
that's
guys
when
out.
we had this conversation.
And somehow we
Which
got on.
came first, the
Chicken
egg
or
or
the
the
egg?
chicken? And we talked about that forever.
And we finally ended up. Then it started becoming well, and then came this, and then came that, and then came the other thing. So this kind of became a little thing we
And
were
then
doing,
came love.
and so we were doing that, and that was kind of fun.
So Mom, how did you know you were gonna marry Dad?
When did you
hear
find
your
out?
side of it now?
Well, you're getting way ahead
Oh,
of the game.
Dad, I knew.
Because
ahead of
then
you.
So
we dated each other until the end of the school year.
and nobody else.
Which was only.
And we went to the
like
library every night.
A few more weeks. Yeah. We went to the
Yeah,
library
this was
every
in
night.
May now.
To study.
And then we had Y Day, and that was a really cool day, but that's a whole other story.
So then we go our separate ways.
Huh?
Yeah, you hear that?
Right.
I
Yeah,
came to
we went out to the
Arizona and
library.
we went to California. Okay.
For the whole summer.
And
Do you have an
we
agreement?
wrote each other.
Any?
No.
And it's
But we
real,
wrote
you
each
know,
other
take it back,
every
I'm sorry.
single day.
Yeah,
We
every-
Love ya.
couldn't-
Yeah,
didn't-
I do.
just didn't call people that then.
Sorry.
You know, it
Oh,
was
you
not
wrote
like
each other?
Every once in a while we'd
kosher, it
call.
was money, and so you just didn't call
Okay.
long distance. So
Bye.
I waited until a couple of days till I finally got the first letter, and oh my gosh, it was so fun.
And
And
this
we
was
were, and
before
of course,
email.
the whole thing we were worried about is we didn't know if she'd be able to come back to school to BYU the next year because
All
she
summer
didn't have the
long.
money.
We were trying to figure out how I would be able to get up there, so I couldn't. So this whole year, So in other words, we dated apart, long distance for that year.
Bob and I did that.
That was awful.
Yeah, we did that for 2 years.
But actually, what happened was I worked for 2 months. Actually, when was that?
All of
That
us
was
kids
after-
were up in heaven going, come on, get together already.
and Mother came up to see me. Came up and stayed with us for
I was
a week
actually
up there, and
just
that's when we went to Mount Lassen and all that stuff and got those pictures there. And then she came back home, and a couple days later, I had to go to my ROTC summer camp in Alabama for a month. That was ugly. And then I flew back in to Reno one night, and 8 hours later, I was on a plane coming down here. So I came down here for a week.
And that's when I cooked my first turkey, and it was 8 hours late. How like was it?
I don't know. I don't remember the
I
turkey.
put it in and I had no clue. I mean, that's what I can do a lot of things. I can make bread, I can can corn.
But she was working at Motorola and going to this school thing. No, were you going to school?
You're working at Motorola.
So I hardly
Yeah.
even saw her for the whole time that I was down here,
I
except
get
just a
home
couple
and
hours a
sleep, and I'm
day.
trying to think, how can I get along without any sleep? Because we wanted to see each other for 5 minutes.
So then I came back. Then I went back home, and 8 hours later I was in the car heading back to BYU, and she wasn't going to come up that year.
So what happened?
We figured out I wasn't going to be able to. I didn't have the money.
But we kind of sat around on the lawn before. Well, we'd sit around and talk. Said, well, what about if we were to get married and kind of stuff like that? And we
Yellow.
figured maybe in 3 years or so or something. But anyway, I went back to school, and mother came down here,
Yeah.
and her friend Leanne went to BYU, and Leanne's boyfriend was down here. So for general conference, mother was coming up with this guy up to. He was coming up to see Leanne, and she was coming up, and you were coming up to see me.
Yeah, so we rode together.
And she met me up on campus that afternoon. That's where they pulled up on campus. I knew what time they were getting there, and so I had to go to a class, and we talked for a minute, and then I had to go to class, and I turned around, and as they were pulling away, I saw her lean over, and I guess she was really getting something in the back seat, but it looked to me almost like she leaned over and kissed this guy. And that really worried me. And so that night, we were sitting down on the couch in our apartment, and I kind of said, in the most bold manner, just as bold as anybody has ever done in the history of life, I said, what would you say if I asked you to marry me? Like if she said no, like if she said no, I said, well then I won't ask, or I wasn't going to ask, or something. But she said, so I got my toe wet to see if the water was cold or hot.
What did she say?
I said yes.
And so I said,
I would say yes.
And so a couple minutes later, we decided we were engaged.
And then what?
And then we were still thinking we were going to get married 2 years or so after I got out of school, which I still had a lot of school to go, and the story's even worse than that. What I had to get done in 3 semesters was crazy because the Air Force had messed up my deal, and so I went to school straight for what, 5 semesters?
Yeah, and so the night that the day we were supposed to get, we were supposed to get married on Saturday morning,
So you
and
said
he
you
had
married that
finished.
year, right?
Well, actually, what happened was Mother came up right at the end of May, and she stayed in an apartment, lived in an apartment with some of the girls in our ward from May to August.
Don,
And
get him away.
and Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, and then I was going to summer school taking 3 physics classes, and I had a quantum mechanics test on Thursday. I had to work at the. It was Thursday, not Friday, Saturday. It was Friday, not Saturday. We were married on a Friday, and it was Thursday night that I had, or Thursday I had a final. Thursday night I had to work. I worked nights up till midnight cleaning the floors in the bookstore, and
And he had also
then-
taken a correspondence course.
well, that was in the middle of that, yeah. But
Yeah, correspondence courses back
I had to get 72 and a half hours of credit in physics, and mostly physics and math, in 3 semesters.
And he got A's.
Now figure that out. No, I didn't. I didn't do so
You
well
got
in
one.
mechanics and that kind of stuff though.
Well, you still got mostly A's.
Anyway,
So
but
anyway, we got
Man,
married
that story
Friday
got me
morning,
out through
and Monday
college.
morning we had a class.
yeah, well, yeah. See, Thursday I had actually I had 2 finals on Thursday, and I think I had one on Wednesday.
Oh.
And then I cleaned the bookstore Thursday night, and then Friday morning at 5 o'clock I was up so we could go to the temple.
Whoa.
And then we had our reception that night, and then Saturday we went to Lagoon, and Sunday we came back and went to church, and Monday I had to get back for late summer classes.
Did you ever have a long honeymoon after that?
No, not really.
No, in fact, we really